Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It shouldn't come as no surprise that I have serious concerns with both the deployment of the National Guard and the Marines to Los Angeles. I served in the Marine Corps. We are trained to be war fighters, not for crowd control. Everyone here should be alarmed that the President has sent armed forces into a city against the wishes of a governor and mayor. I am concerned this administration is purposely escalating the situation with this step and politicizing our armed forces in the process. Let's call it for what it is. It's political theater. Hegseth, are the Marines in Los Angeles ordered to protect property by any means necessary?
Sir, I would say the ICE officers and police officers being attacked is not political theater. The National Guard and Marines,
just yes or no. Just yes or no.
The National Guard and Marines have the full authority to protect federal ICE agents.
Yes or no? Can you just say yes or no? This isn't Fox anymore. Just yes or no.
They're there to protect federal agents and federal.
Another BS answer. Under the SRUF, the use of force, are Marines allowed to fire warning shots?
No.
Now that's more like it. Isn't that easy?
What happens when a congressional hearing turns into political theater instead of a search for the truth? That's exactly what unfolded in Washington as Congressman Salud Carbajal and Senator Elissa Slotkin launched a barrage of attacks against Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. But did they expose incompetence, or did they simply put partisan politics on full display? Before we get into it, welcome to the Blue Brief, your home for fearless conservative news, honest political analysis, and the stories the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. If you believe America deserves strong leadership, secure borders, and a military focused on defending our nation, not playing politics, hit that like button, subscribe to the Blue Brief, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest reports. Let's get into it.
Well, I'm going to beat this drum because you refuse to take responsibility. Will you take responsibility for having made a mistake? Not to mention, many people would say break the law in participating in the Signal group chat that included a journalist, your wife, your brother, where classified information was shared.
Sir, every way I communicate is authorized.
Okay, if you want to say that. I have called for your resignation. I didn't think you were qualified before your confirmation, and you have done nothing to inspire confidence in your ability to lead competently. You broke the law in sharing classified information, and in doing so, endangered the lives of our service members that you are responsible for. Your inability to hold yourself accountable makes you incapable to lead. This alone makes you unfit to be the Secretary of Defense. Secretary, do you think the United States should continue supporting Ukraine in its fight against Russia, a nation that is hostile towards the United States?
Well, as you know, sir, President Trump is committed to peace.
No, I just want yes or no answers.
Today, the United States has spent billions of dollars.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Over years.
Just yes or no. Can I get a yes or no out of you?
We continue to send.
Come on.
Presidential drawdown.
It's that easy. Kindergartners can give me a yes or no. Yes or no.
Yes, we support peace in Ukraine.
Come on. Is this really leadership? You're an embarrassment to the United States. If Russia invades NATO allies, are you going to recommend to the president that we fulfill our Article 5 obligations?
Well, Russia has not invaded NATO allies.
No.
President Trump.
No. I reclaim my time. Yes or no? It's that simple.
There's Article 5 in NATO, which we recognize.
So is the answer yes or no?
That's what Article 5 is, yes.
Good. I'm glad you brought yourself to saying yes. Do you think political allegiance to Trump is a requirement for serving our nation, either in uniform or a civilian in the department?
I'm incredibly proud, as are millions of Americans.
No. Not today, Hegseth. Yes or no?
Congressman, you know what a silly question that is.
But silly enough to warrant a very straightforward answer. Yes or no?
We all support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
You know what?
I'm
not going to waste my time anymore. You're not worthy of my attention or my questions. You're an embarrassment to this country. You're unfit to lead. And there's been bipartisan members of Congress that have called for your resignation. You should just get the hell out and let somebody competently lead this department.
Mr. Chairman, do we not have any decorum in here?
Thank you very much. I yield my time.
Gentleman yields back.
Mr. Secretary, I said in your hearing, when you had your confirmation hearing, that my biggest concern with you at the helm was the potential use of the military in ways that contradict the Constitution or that taint what I hope we all want, which is an apolitical military. And when I asked you about whether you would accept an order that was actually given to your predecessor, Secretary Esper, Trump's SecDef, to deploy active duty troops against unarmed protesters and to, in Secretary Esper's words, shoot at them, shoot at their legs, you said this was all theoretical. Here we are, a few months later. You've deployed 4,700 troops to Los Angeles and against the wishes of the governor. And my colleague across the aisle was right. It is the first time since 1965 that we have.
The hearing was supposed to focus on national security and defense. Instead, it quickly turned into what many conservatives see as another political spectacle designed to score headlines rather than uncover facts. Representative Salud Carbajal repeatedly demanded simple yes or no answers from Secretary Pete Hegseth on everything from Ukraine to NATO, President Trump, and military deployments in Los Angeles. Every time Hegseth attempted to explain the context behind complex national security decisions, he was interrupted and accused of dodging questions. Now, let's be honest. National security isn't a game show where every issue can be answered with yes or no. Military operations involve classified information, legal considerations, diplomatic strategy, and ongoing intelligence assessments. Anyone who has served in government understands that. Yet many Democrats seemed more interested in creating viral moments than allowing serious discussion. One of the biggest flashpoints involved the deployment of National Guard troops and Marines to Los Angeles. Critics claimed this was an abuse of military power. Supporters argued something entirely different. From a conservative perspective, when federal officers are attacked, government property is threatened, and law enforcement is overwhelmed, the federal government has not only the authority but the responsibility to restore order. The first responsibility of government is protecting its citizens. Without law and order, every other political debate becomes meaningless. Secretary Hegseth repeatedly emphasized that troops were there to protect federal personnel and facilities, not to wage war against American citizens. That important distinction often disappeared during the hearing. Then came the signal messaging controversy. Democrats accused Hegseth of mishandling sensitive military communications and demanded that he admit wrongdoing. Hegseth firmly rejected those accusations, maintaining that his communications complied with authorized procedures. Investigations and oversight should absolutely continue whenever questions arise involving national security. At the same time, allegations alone should not be treated as proof before investigations are complete. That's a principle conservatives have long defended, regardless of who occupies public office. Another major exchange centered on Ukraine. Democrats repeatedly pressed Hegseth into making broad commitments regarding America's future military support.
That we have deployed Guard troops without the permission of the governor. In all the instances he laid out, the president had sent in the military to protect protesters, not against the protesters. So you may dismiss it, but I feel like this is a fundamental issue of American democracy. If you love your country and you want an apolitical military, then it should be the last resort, not the first resort in our country to use them. So to get to the non-theoretical, Have you authorized the uniformed military to detain or arrest protesters in Los Angeles?
Senator, I would just start by saying you're not a protester if you're throwing concrete
100%.
at law
Arrest those
enforcement
people.
officers.
Throw them in the jail. 100%. But what you're doing is something different. Everyone knows this is a political decision, right? So we don't trust that you're using the best interests of the military, certainly, and of democracy on top of that. So have you given the order? That's all I want to know. It's not theoretical. For the U.S. military, not law enforcement. They can arrest all day long. That's their job. Do they have the ability, the uniformed military, to arrest and detain protesters currently today? It's a yes or no thing. Authority.
It's sort of amusing the extent to which the speculation is out there. These troops are given very clear orders.
Then what is the order? Then list it out for us. Be a man. List it out. Did you authorize them to detain or arrest? That is a fundamental issue of democracy. I'm not trying to be a snot here. I'm just trying to get the actual. Did you authorize them to do that?
All of these orders and what they're sent there to do are public. They are there
so
to
say it. So say it. Yes or no?
I'd like to.
Please, yes or no?
As I've said time and time again through interruption, they're there to protect law enforcement.
Do they have
ICE
the ability
officers
to arrest?
who are trying to do their job,
Okay.
deporting illegals who were allowed in by the previous administration.
So they cannot arrest and detain citizens of the United States, the uniformed military.
As we've
Is that right?
stated, if necessary, in their own self-defense, they could temporarily detain and hand over to ICE. But there's no arresting going on. And you know this better than you're trying to play political games. There's no arresting of U.S. personnel.
Of the U.S. military against members of the protest. Have you authorized U.S. military cyber tools to investigate people participating in these protests? Yes or no?
Certainly in no way that I'd be aware of.
Okay, that's good. I love that answer. That's great. Have you given the order to be able to shoot at unarmed protesters in any way? I'm just asking the question. Don't laugh. Like the whole country. And by the way, my colleagues across the aisle.
What is that based on? What evidence would you have that an order like that has ever been given?
Giving that order to your predecessor, to a Republican Secretary of Defense, who I give a lot of credit to because he didn't accept the order. He had more guts and balls than you because he said, I'm not going to send in the uniformed military to do something that I know in my gut isn't right. He was asked to shoot at their legs. He wrote that in his book. That's not hearsay. So your poo-pooing of this, it just shows you don't understand who we are as a country, who we are. And all of my colleagues across the aisle, especially the ones that served, should want an apolitical military and not want citizens to be scared of their own military. I love the military. I served alongside my whole life, so I'm worried about you tainting it. Have you given the order? Have you given the order that they can use lethal force against honor? I want the answer to be no. Please tell me it's no. Have you given the order?
Senator, I'd be careful what you read in books and believing it, except for the Bible.
Oh, my God. So your former predecessor, I guess that's not enough for you. Okay, on Iran. I don't think there's a debate. There's like a catfight going on in your own party about whether to go after Iran. Have you commissioned any day after planning? So any force protection, any use of ground troops in Iran, any cost assessments? Because I don't think we doubt what we can do as a country in the attack. It's the day after with Iraq and Afghanistan that so many of us have learned to be so deeply concerned about. Have you authorized day after planning?
As I've said, we have plans for everything, Senator.
Okay.
But the secretary consistently pointed back to President Trump's stated goal of pursuing peace while protecting American interests. That answer may not have satisfied his critics, but it reflects a larger conservative belief. America's military exists first to defend America. Every foreign commitment deserves careful scrutiny, every taxpayer dollar deserves accountability, and every military decision should prioritize American security before international politics. The hearing also included questions about NATO's Article 5 obligations. Hegseth ultimately affirmed America's treaty commitments while avoiding speculation about hypothetical future conflicts. Again, critics called this evasive. Supporters would argue it demonstrated appropriate caution. Responsible defense officials should avoid making sweeping public declarations that could influence diplomatic negotiations or military planning. Perhaps the most emotional moment came when Carbajal questioned whether loyalty to President Trump was becoming a requirement within the Department of Defense. Hegseth rejected the premise by emphasizing that every service member swears an oath to defend the Constitution. That point deserves attention. Every member of America's armed forces serves the Constitution, not a party, not a president, and not Congress. That principle remains fundamental regardless of who occupies the White House. Senator Elissa Slotkin then raised concerns about the military's authority during domestic unrest and referenced former Defense Secretary Mark Esper's memoir. She pressed Hegseth on hypothetical scenarios involving force against protesters. Hegseth refused to speculate on hypothetical orders and instead focused on the actual mission assigned to military personnel. Many conservatives believe that's exactly what a defense secretary should do. Military leaders shouldn't make policy through political theater during congressional hearings. They should carry out lawful missions while protecting national security. Watching this hearing, one thing became increasingly obvious. There were two very different conversations taking place. One side wanted dramatic sound bites. The other attempted, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, to keep the discussion focused on operational responsibilities. Reasonable Americans can disagree about policies involving Ukraine, immigration, military deployments, or defense spending. That's democracy. But reducing every complex military issue into a viral confrontation doesn't strengthen America's national security. It weakens public confidence in institutions that should remain above partisan politics. What do you think? Did Democrats ask tough but necessary questions, or did this hearing cross the line into political grandstanding? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Blue Brief, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest coverage of the biggest stories shaping America. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.